And welcome everyone to Tuesday night in the Pacific coast of Canada. That means it's the Keshe Plasma Reactor group for me and for several others that are here and whoever shows up in live stream. And who knows, we could get into a couple hundred people here eventually. And okay, we're starting off the night tonight with Vivek is showing us his health pen. I don't know if you call it a prototype or design, let's say. Do you want to talk about that again, please?
Sure. When I was making health pens, I kind of got the idea to make a health pen with three coils instead of just two. So what I did over here, as you can see on the picture, I cut out a long piece of copper wire, bent it back onto itself, and then started winding it back onto the stylus of the central core. So this, what you see here is actually one piece of copper wire that goes up as a stylus, bends back onto itself, winds back onto itself 18 times, and comes out in a prong. So there are two prongs on this central core. And then around that, we go to the next picture. I have two more coils, and those are attached in pretty much the same way as we would with our regular health pens. So nano coated this, and I used it. I tried it on my mom, who was complaining of pain in her knee because I saw her limping around. And I said, "Are you okay?" She said, "Suddenly I have a pain in my knee." And I said, "Okay, sit down. I'm going to try this new health pen, and then you give me feedback on the sensations that you feel." So I applied the health pen to her knee, and initially she said she felt the plasma energy going down her leg and traveling down to her foot. And shortly thereafter, she said that she felt the plasma energy spinning around the sole of her foot and warming her foot up. This was the very first time I used it. And that went on for about a good 5 minutes. Then the spinning stopped, and the energy moved back up her leg, moved up her leg towards the knee, and then she said she started to feel a sort of an energetic sucking sensation where she thought that something was being removed from her leg. So I kept the health pen there until she told me that the sensation had completely stopped. That was the very first time I used the pen. Last night, I used the pen again on the same knee. She felt that same sensation of the energy going down her leg, but this time there was no spinning sensation on her foot. Instead, she felt her toes being tingled. Her foot started getting warm, and then the same sensation came back that the energy moved up her leg and went back to her knee, and the energy got was being sucked out of her knee. Now, this was a very interesting sensation because I had never heard her give that sort of feedback from the other two health pens that I've made, which only have a central stylus and two coils wrapped around the central stylus. So yesterday I got to talking to Renan and I asked him what's going on with this pen. Can he correlate to the experiences that Mom had? And he said that when you use three coils, the two inner coils become gravitational. So this pen then becomes gravitationally biased, with the outer coil being magnetic. And that makes a lot of sense because in the health unit, Mr. Cash says if you want to remove energy from a certain part of a body, let's say a tumor, you connect the gravitational cause and then you allow the energy to flow out. So that's what we experienced over here with this design of the pen, and it was very very interesting. Renan mentioned also that if I were to put a fourth coil around this three coils, that it would be balanced. It would be in a maggrav state rather than being gravitationally biased. So that's what I wanted to share.
Yeah, Vivek, we discussed this earlier, and something that I talked to Dave about in Peru about a similar sort of thing, but I didn't manage to get to talk to you about it. Is I think the next step on this 3 coil pen would be to put a saltwater sink so that whatever it draws out has a place to go.
Right. That's actually a very interesting idea. I was thinking of that as well. When I nano coat a long piece of wire connected to that central stylus, because that central stylus is holding the gravitational core, and then let it run out of the container into a saltwater sink. And that's a very good idea. I think I'll give it a go and try it out either tonight or tomorrow night as quickly as I can get the nano coating done. Thanks, John.
So where would you attach the saltwater sink on? Like a nano-coated wire from the saltwater sink. Is that what the way you would do it onto some part of this, or how would
Yeah,
you?
it would
Uh, the,
be. Do
the
you see
guys,
the?
okay, hang on. The guys in Austria, with their health wall or tree, as they call it, they use just a coiled wire that's nano coated, and it's hooked up to the output side of the receiver of their tree, and that goes down, and it doesn't actually go into the salt water. It just vents into the container. And I was thinking about this. Something that's been bugging me for years is we know water can be programmed. We know we can put the plasma energy into the water, but there has to be some way for that water to be neutralized, to be brought back to its original state. And I've been trying to figure out what that is, and it's now seeming that it's the salt in the water that's neutralizing this plasmatic programming that we're putting into that.
Right. So based on that, on this pen, I was thinking of connecting it to that loop that you see on the right hand side, that is part of the central stylus, because whatever is going in is also coming out from there. So that might be a good place to tap into it. What do you think, John?
I think that, yeah, definitely that end of the system. Now, whether or not that's going to sink the energy right off the bat, so that this thing just doesn't work anymore, I don't know. Um, Again, we're dealing with a lot of intent in here, but and we also know that the structure is important. So you may need to have a capacitor between those. Or one of Alex's original diodes, the plasma transistor, kind of an idea where you can open and close that connection plasmatically, so that you could close it to get the system started. As soon as it starts to draw out, when the patient says, yeah, it's pulling out, then you would close that plasma transistor and allow the system to drain.
Huh. Interesting. I like the idea of a capacitor too. That just sounded right somehow from experience. Also, the loop at the end could be considered to be an induction ring, and you could put another loop inside of that and run that wire out to your saltwater sink or whatever, perhaps.
Yeah, I think with experimentation, we're going to find we're going to need to have some way to turn that connection on and off somehow.
But
Right.
should it be in multiple times per second, or should it be just when you want to turn it on and off?
Well, from what Vivek was describing, what his mom was saying was that when he first applied it, it put energy into her system, and then that energy traveled down to her foot and then traveled back up and back into the pen. If we have a sink on this that's constant, how much of the energy that the pen is actually working with is going to be drained off into that sink right off the bat without actually going and doing anything? That's just a question that's kind of stuck in my head, and I don't know if it's important.
Do we want to put energy in, or do we want to draw off the call it excess energy, or the, like in the case of, for example, maybe a tumor or something like that, there might be excess energy which would be something that needs to be drawn off rather than putting energy into the situation.
Yeah, most certainly. I can see uses for all three possibilities where you want to simply put energy in and let it do its thing. You want to
Hmm.
put it in there and then draw off whatever it changes,
Hmm.
and also a system where you're immediately drawing off. You're not putting energy in.
Hmm.
That's why I'm thinking
So
that
you need
having
a three-way switch.
yeah, that plasmatic switch between the end of the health pen and the sink may be that may be the solution for this. So if you have the plasmatic switch closed, so the sink is active, it's constantly drawing. It's not going to put anything out.
What if you had a not just a plasmatic sink, but a plasmatic antenna? So, like the sink is like a ground circuit, basically, as far as radio or crystal circuits go, let's say. And if you have an antenna and a ground, then you have both polarities to be able to draw from, so to speak.
Okay.
I'm,
I
I'm,
don't really see it that way because the
I'm,
way
I'm
the water.
theorizing a bit here, but
No,
yeah.
no, I understand. But the way the water has been described, using the salt water as a sink, is it absorbs and reprograms the plasma into a neutral state, and then just
Hmm.
releases it out into the environment.
Hmm.
If you just had an antenna, from what we know, I know you're familiar with this as well, Rick. The antenna is going to be tuned to a specific frequency, so there's going to be frequencies that are going to hit that antenna, be reflected back, frequencies that'll hit the antenna, be absorbed and radiated, and other frequencies that are just, they're not even going to be compatible with the system at all.
How would a plasmatic antenna work, though? I'm thinking since we're dealing with plasmatic systems, and they actually have plasmatic antennas now that you essentially generate a plasmatic field around your antenna, and then that becomes the antenna, that actual field, and you can attenuate that plasmatic field and change its shape and size and so on.
Yeah, okay. Another thought would be with the antenna aspect, if it simply radiates the energy, do we want to draw cancer or a brain tumor out of somebody's head and then just emit that into the environment? Or do we want to neutralize it somehow?
Well, in the case of an antenna, you're usually pulling in energies or pulling in ambient fields and amplifying and magnifying them. And for example, if you needed certain energy, you need to energize part of the body. Something that was stagnant, let's say, needed to be some lymph needed to be energized. Maybe it would be best to use more of an antenna system rather than a sink system.
Yeah, the
Sure.
other thing I was thinking of
Well,
also, whether it's even necessary to have an antenna or sync, because, okay, think back to what my mom said. She felt the energy going in first.
mm-hmm,
So, and then after that, the energy did something that was spinning, that was warming, and then it pulled whatever it needed to pull out.
mm-hmm.
Wouldn't be plasma already know what was needed and what was not needed?
Right,
In
and
a
plus there's
way,
there's an actual cycle involved there with a time factor. It's not just
yes,
sink or swim, so to speak. It's a
correct.
continuous cycle.
That's what I was thinking. And plus, after using the pen, intuitively, I just took that pen and I put it on top of my maggraph system so that it could sit in the plasma field of
Mm-hmm,
my maggraph system. So
mm-hmm.
maybe that is the way to release whatever the pen has absorbed and transmute that energy into a safe and usable form. I don't know. But intuitively, that's basically what I did.
Yeah, it makes sense that if you had no other option, that's where it would lead you to, certainly.
Yep.
But is that actually the best option? I mean, I would think there would be a limit to how much this could store at any one time, and if we could constantly drain it, then it becomes a conduit. This is the antenna for that energy that draws it out of the environment or out of the system that you're pointing it at.
Mm.
And if we put it into something where that energy is immediately neutralized or rendered broadband once again and released into the environment, then there would be no limit to how long you could actually use this thing for.
Right.
Very interesting idea.
Very interesting idea. The antenna or the wire running to the sink, of course, would have to be encased in a protective housing, because we don't want skin to come into direct contact with nanomaterial. So I'm thinking maybe a heat shrink tubing or something like that.
Well, the guys in Austria, they just have a vinyl tube that they've nano-coated the inside, and they run their coil down that inside of that tube.
Right. That would be the other option. Interesting ideas. Yeah. The other thing I was thinking of as well is that treatment with this sort of configuration might need another pen with 4 coils. So after you finish the treatment with the 3 coils with the graph bias, you bring in the 4 coil pen to balance out whatever needs to be balanced out from where it was taken, or something like that.
Or a balanced pen on one side and a grav biased pen on the other.
Right.
Create a
Make it
gradient right through whatever you're treating.
right. Makes it a bit difficult to hold on to, though, because one hand will be taking what the other hand will be giving. So they both need to be held by the same hand.
Or a device. Make a little U-shaped device that holds the two, one on either side.
And then you hold the device.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
Hmm.
Cool. Very cool.
Lots of new stuff to think about.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get Dave down in Peru to build up a couple of different systems and try a few different methods. The folks down there are so turned on, so switched on that just about anything Dave does down there works perfectly.
Right.
Well, it would be a good test bed because we've already got conscious and unconscious cooperative alignment to the plasma energy from the general population down there.
Sure. That's cool. Yeah. The other thing that I wanted to share, just as an update, let me stop the screen share for a while because my CPU is pegging out. The other thing that I wanted to share is that I'm currently in the midst of troubleshooting my Magraphs unit, because the phenomenon that we have noticed, because I was on Zoom with John, and he saw this as well, is that nano coating is propagating through the wires that connect from the grid, the socket to the Magraphs unit, but it stops somewhere in between. We do not know exactly where, but the ends that connect into the plug are not nano coated. So the first thing that I did was to remove the wires from the side connecting the socket to the Magraphs unit, swap them around such that the nano coated side is now inside the plug, and the bare copper wire side is now on the Magraphs. And today I did the same with the power strip, because I noticed the same thing happening, the same phenomenon happening with the wire going to the power strip. So I've swapped it around, and am now going to be monitoring over the next couple of weeks to see what goes on, what happens, and then we'll carry on troubleshooting from there. Because up to now, my electrical consumption has more or less remained the same. Actually, it's increased a little bit because I'm running more load in my room right now. So I have the housing of the electrical meter open now. I can monitor it on a daily basis. So I'm able to run more tests more freely. And we will document our experiences, and we are thinking of coming up with a sort of a troubleshooting guide, so that others who might find that their own home built systems are not really operating as intended may use this guide to start troubleshooting their own systems. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, what else do we have to show and tell here? Anybody else? With Libby, I see your microphone's open.
Yeah, I put some stuff together, made a short little video. I was so inspired ever
Just
since
a
I,
second here. Just a second here.
okay.
There.
I got to figure out how to do this without messing up
There.
too.
Sorry, I think
Let me know when it's
it's okay.
okay.
Yeah, it should be fine there. Go ahead, please.
Okay, let me just see here. So I hit what I want to play first, then I hit share screen, right?
Yes. We don't have to play it. You just have to have it ready to play, like set up already in a
Yeah,
screen.
it's ready. So I hit share screen first and then hit it?
Yep.
Okay.
Sure.
Oops. Does that work for you? Can you see the screen?
Not yet. No.
Okay, hold on.
Takes a second to come through usually.
Okay. Oops, there it is. Okay.
Something's starting. Okay, we see your
Oops.
browser right now.
Okay,
Probably
that's
not.
fine.
Probably
There we
not.
go.
Okay, now we see a video.
Okay, so this was, I'll just start it again. It's only a minute long, but it's a compilation of stuff I had started on, and I just wanted to, I fell in love with that little drop of water. It's a CO2 GANS of water.
Oh, that's a
And
lovely structure there now. Beautiful.
it stayed, that little drop of water stayed there all afternoon, and it was like talking to Buddha. The whole thing was sparkling. And it was just, I'm having so much fun. And after last week's easy water thing, I kept thinking, this water is magic. I mean, it holds its form for so long. Mind you, it was cold, but it wasn't freezing. And it's all going to be washed away tonight and tomorrow. But the washing actually I don't know if what I'm doing makes any sense at all. That is actually a thing of zinc wire. And then I'm just going to let it play itself out. But boy, was it fun to make that. And yeah, so I will just stop sharing screen. Where am I? Oops. Where'd you go?
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for inspiring me and everybody that comes to this table.
Do you have anything else you want to show there, Libby?
Oh, I have plenty, but I didn't take pictures. I'm just catching up with things that now I know a little bit more. I'm going out hopefully tomorrow to buy some zinc wire. But I'm just putting things that I've started to play with and then knew that I'd come back to it. It's like we've got so many things we've created, and or at least I have, and just trying to combine them. That outer creation is part of a vector equilibrium I was working on, but I didn't want to cut it. So it worked out to be a beautiful six-sided thing, whatever it is. I can only tell you, me, the cats, and the hens had a great time sitting on the bench looking at that thing today. I'll stop the share, sorry. Yeah. Okay.
Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Who else has something they'd like to share? John, did I hear you say something before Libby came on?
Oh, I was just going to mention we got a pretty small group in here tonight.
Yeah, it is.
Tough getting enough content for 2 hours.
Could very possibly be. Might have a early night off here. That would be fine. We'll see. We usually everybody tries to jam everything in the last 10 minutes, so and stretch it out for another half hour to 45 minutes if they can. Mark my words. We shall see. Okay, well, what else can we bring up as a topic or something that's going on, or anything that's interesting? Anybody that needs to be discussed, or something to show and tell? Hey, Leith, what are you doing these days? Anything to report on?
How's it going? I'll just start my video here. Be a bit sociable. Sorry about that. I joined late. How's it going?
Very good.
Yeah. what I've been doing is making a lot of those spirals and pens and pads. I went down to Tent City, you know, down outside the courthouse. They've got that tent city with all the homeless people.
Yes.
So I went down there with a bunch of paint pads and pens and
Oh, well, cool.
some spirals, and then I took like a little cup of GANS, a CO2 GANS with water on top of it, and I walked into Tent City, and I was looking for the actual lady who runs the whole show there, but she was away at the time. But these two other wonderful ladies came up to me, and I began to explain, you know, what I had. I had a big bag full of the CO2, the paint pads. Explained her what to do with the paint pads.
Yeah.
And then I showed her the spirals I made, how to use it, put it on your feet and so forth, and then the pens. And then you should have seen the other people sort of come around and looked with sort of the whole faces changed and smiles. It all went from sort of, you know, heads down and feeling very doldrum
Yeah.
to where they sort of seemed very enlightened. And the lady was about to shake my hand like a business transaction, and then she just looked at me and gave the biggest hug ever. And,
right on. And you're just giving this away. It's not like you're selling them or anything. You're just giving away your bag of goodies. Eh?
Yeah, yeah.
And you had paint pads and pens as well. So
yeah, and spirals and a little cup of GANS. So I gave her a big roll of paper towel too. I said, just get the water off top of the GANS, and then get the Ziploc bags and put the other paper towel in there and add the water in there, and you've got additional paint pads. Here's a whole roll. And they were pretty blown away. So
and that she could keep topping up the water and keep using it is the idea too, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So
very good.
So it seems like they need our help down there because, you know, the whole issues with that, right? They got nowhere to live and there's not enough housing, and the police want to kick them off the Crown land and all that sort of stuff. So I just felt a message to go down there and help them, and so I did. And it felt very enlightening. I just had to share that. So the technology that you've introduced with Mr. Keshe, you know, gives us that capability. It's just an amazing feeling.
Yeah, well, good for you. I'm glad you had the initiative to go and do that. I could see that could be a nice outreach program there for sure.
I think so. I think, you know, trying to convince the regular day 9 to 5er with the suit and tie.
Yeah,
it's hard to sell, but
you
get it.
Try to get it introduced to the medical profession or some pharmaceutical company. It's probably just not going to work. You know, you use this. It's got water on it. Yeah, and we're going to sell this. Yeah, it's not going to work. But if you think about all these cities in just Canada alone, with people that are homeless and that are hurting, basically, a lot of them just, you know, they might be intoxicated and fall down and have bruises and cuts and scrapes and that kind of thing, and they don't want to go to the hospital to deal with it, and maybe the hospital just kicked them out and said, sorry, we can't take you or whatever too. I mean, so they probably do need a little extra help that way.
Yeah, I think because here in the island there's limited doctors, right? So you can't even get a personal doctor anymore. And then you've got to go to the waiting lists, and then you've got to make sure your MSP premiums are up to date. Otherwise, you won't get the coverage, right? So it's
yes, I've noticed that lately.
Yeah. Yeah, if you go on a Monday morning first thing, forget about it. You're sitting there for 4 hours at least. So.
Right.
Please, can I ask you a question? Do you how do you nano-coat the spirals? Do you burn them or do you use caustic?
Yeah, so I use a special caustic. So I don't know, I get these messages from things. I can't explain it really. It's a bit deep, but
you don't have to. I understand.
It's intuition, I suppose. That's all I'm going to put it down to for now. But yeah.
You psychics are all the same. You always finish each other's sentences even before you start them. No, it's great. We are all connected in many ways, and along these realms, a lot of times it does work that way, you know. But go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
You're quick with those branding, Rick. I'll be sure to try and jump in next time you're on a global workshop there. Getting back to caustic. So what it got me researching is looking up where did life start here on planet Earth, and the first forms of the blue-green algae. And so I made sure I got spirulina, and then I started to get kelp. I started to get things that sort of what life needs as basic elements, not human type stuff, and so I started creating GANs from that and put it into the caustic, and then I added a bunch of stuff. I can't even remember all what I put in my first thing. So I've been reusing that caustic ever since. Plus, of course, all other caustics I've used from different creations. So I create all these different layers in different bottles, and I just keep reusing it. It tells me to keep reusing it like layers of skin on my nano coating. Because you just see all the nanoparticles in the liquids, and it's all different blues, shades of blues, and you just tell when you're spraying it each 3 or 4 hours in the containers, and they just, you can see the crystal structures forming in the nano coating. Plus, I put like different light colors around. I don't know. I think I watched Rick, one of your old videos. You posted somewhere where you're doing a lot of Tesla research about light colors on screens and how it affects frequencies and signals. So so you inspired me to start putting colored sponges all around on the base of the caustic containers. So thanks for that.
Holy cow, that's a pretty remote inspiration there. I'll take that as a kudo.
Yes. Yeah, I think you're looking much more livelier than.
You mean the time that I had the alligator clip attached to my ear and I was tapping on the screen of my iMac?
Yes.
Something playing music, or the one where I was finding colors on the iMac screen and making sounds out of the colors. Yes, from a crystal radio was decoding my iMac screen actually, and that was an interesting experience. I didn't know that a crystal radio could recognize colors when it came right down to it, and it freaked me right out at the time. So until I understood what was actually going on in that circumstance.
Yeah, exactly. So I took that as a message that when you're creating the crystal structures and the nano coating, that they want colors around, the colors of the rainbow.
Yes, well, or that they can discern the colors for sure.
Exactly.
And, whatever is around will be what gets absorbed and starts getting built up and starts circulating within that crystal structure, because apparently they slow down light. That's what crystals do, right? You can even slow down. They found out recently that they can slow down light to the speed of sound, which is interesting, because then you start having resonating structures with sound and light at the same time, because they're both basically resonating at the same frequency.
Yep. I think you're ready to elaborate more of that on the next workshop, because it's wonderful.
Well, it's an interesting idea, and I thought scientists already knew about that, but apparently they just found out recently. It's great fun.
I think it strongly correlates with the nanocoating process and the crystallization of the nanocoating layers, the hexagonal shapes we're trying to get on our nano layers.
Yeah, definitely. I think like the nano copper, for example, it'll trap light essentially in that same plasmatic sort of structure. Yeah.
So that's what I use when I nanocoat my spirals. I always do layers over 2 or 3 days, and then I add a quick dosage of the big green sludge as well in between.
So none of the fire coating then, just the caustic, right?
Just caustic, yeah. I've just got my burner. I'm due. I've just made the new version coils. I've got those ready to go to do the fire burning.
Nice.
So I'm going to make a different structure. It's got me to a dodecahedron, or one of the ether shapes it wants me to make with those. It's a bit difficult to do that with glass or crystal structures, but that's where I'm at researching terrariums. Terrariums that you can get in glass shapes with copper edging.
So they do that with stained glass work as well.
Yeah, so I got to find a cube or a dodecahedron, one of those, and then try and put these, one in the center and then a few around. That's my next project, but it's takes a little bit of work trying to do that. Are you
trying to create lift, or are you trying to create a new cafe in Victoria?
So where I'm at on that other growth, it's it keeps sending me off getting these crystals, put them in the mangrove units, and then I start getting extra messages and purposes and what to do. And the whole lift thing, it's sort of not yet. It's there's other things we need to get done first, and the whole missions of no man, woman, or child should be without food, water, shelter, and it seems to be coming along. It's starting to get spread. I'm seeing lots of things happening.
Well,
around
definitely with Jackie's method
yes,
of eating.
exactly.
Eating plasma eaters are what people are learning to become.
Exactly. So there's that, and then you can start seeing they're all starting to donate all the food from all the large food producers to the homeless. You can start seeing they're creating a minimum income. Canada's doing it now in Ontario. All the countries are starting to do it to make sure everyone has a basic minimum wage that they can get, whether they're so they can
They're
survive.
doing that in Ontario, are they? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
interesting. Okay.
So because I had a message the other week when my son came home from school. He went out to downtown Victoria and he said he saw 3 homeless people. He was very sad, and I said, "Yeah, we haven't got that worked out as humans yet. It shouldn't be that way." And so he sort of looked up to me. He says, "Oh, when I grow up, I'm going to be the Prime Minister and make sure that that isn't so." And I was just, I was like, whoa. And he's only 9, right? And I was just like, wow, that was deep for a 9-year-old. But I felt, amazed that he could think at that level. So, I processed it for about an hour or two, and then I went to the other room, and all of a sudden I just had visions of Justin Trudeau, the new Prime Minister, and I started, seeing his face and his chest. And I just sent a message of love to him to say, look, we got to sort out the homeless and make sure there's no people without food, water, or shelter. And then I just sort of bent down and I saw the image of the flower of life and all this fluorescent colors. And sort of as I bowed down, and I was just like, whoa, what just happened? And then all of a sudden I start seeing the announcements that he's going to have a minimum wage for Ontario as a
I see.
basis. So
right on.
So, but yeah, there's some
And
rules that we have.
we also know they're going to make more of an outreach to the native population as well, which are often a big portion of the homeless, and also with the disabled, which again are a large portion of the homeless.
Most definitely. Yeah, I've been trying to reach out to them. I sent to one of the Sioux tribes there with donate some pens and spirals, but I never got a response back. So I think it's something that has to do in person. It's not something you can do in writing, because I think
the Sioux tribe is interesting in a couple of realms. Number one, is the oldest Aboriginal community in North America, I believe. And number two, it's the most advanced in self-sustaining energy of any community in Canada, at least. I think even in North America, they have a lot of solar panels and a lot of self-sustaining systems. So you would think that they would be interested in these kinds of systems as non-energy requiring systems.
Yeah, it's somewhat to do. There's the Betcha Bay tribe, and then there's the Haida Gwaii tribe, which might be more open to it because they're being more self-sustainable. But it's on the to-do, and I think it's something you have to do in person, not through email or in chat form.
Yeah, the natives are very leery of, let's say, the white man's ways and different tokens and different amulets, and so I tried to present some amulets to a native son, or chief son rather, and it didn't fly at all. It wasn't something he wanted as a gift, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So it needs a little bit of a different focus or attention.
But if you have a harmless looking pad and a baggie that uses what looks to be like a liquid, looks like water, and yet it's people say that it takes away their pain. Once that rumor gets out, people will be quite willing to use it, I think.
Yeah, I used to, when I lived in East Suk, I used to drive downtown every day, and I used to pick up one of them as a hitchhiker down through Betcher Bay there. And it was a gentleman, First Nation man, who had been in a serious motorbike accident and couldn't walk properly, but always hitchhiked. I'd pick him up and drop him into Langford there.
That's the person I was talking about, actually. Yep.
Oh yeah, he's a cool guy, and yeah. Anyway, don't want to get too personal on this stuff, but
No.
yeah, you know what I'm saying then. But that's on the to-do list, and just a note on the spirals I make, and I just helped Tom Salas move to Mexico there, and he went and visited the pyramids there, the local there, and I did some research online, and then he went and took some pictures there the other day, and he sent me the picture, and they make the rock crystal structure in the same way I make the spirals, and he got some big vibes from it. He was a bit blown away that the exact same crystal rock structures around the pyramids there was exactly the same spirals that I've been trying to make and get out to people. So he was pretty awesome, and I just got feedback from a lady in the UK. I just sent some spirals to, and she's been using them for 2 weeks now. And she didn't tell me this, but she originally, but she just told me in today's message on Facebook that her whole left arm is paralyzed. She can't move it, and today was the first day she could move her fingers.
For how long? How long, you mean?
What do you mean for how long?
How long was her arm paralyzed, or whatever?
I don't know. She just said it's been paralyzed. And,
I see. And do you have a picture or an example of your spiral that you mentioned?
I think I did it a few weeks back, Rick. I showed you, and I think John made one. He made an awesome one and showed it on the camera, but we're pretty busy that night. I could send you a couple, Rick. I didn't even drop them by.
Oh, yes, right, that one.
Yeah,
nice.
So yeah, you make them the full length of your two arms, the length instead of the cubit length, and then you put one on each hand, and 15, 30 minutes a day, and then increase it as needed. And I still use them today, and they work great. 15 minutes, and they put you in the right mind state, and you lie down and relax. And I haven't had a negative response on them to anybody I've given them. I've lost count.
One thing, Leith, I wanted to ask is, do you put GANS on your coils, on your spirals?
Yeah, so I also, what I forgot to mention, where I add that other custom GANS to the spraying, the coal caustic, I also add in CO2 into that, a lot of CO2 GANS in the spraying when I coal caustic spray. So there's already GANS within the caustic. And then some people have requested to add a dip of the GANS afterwards when I dry them, and then I wrap them in cellophane and plastic and tape. Okay, yeah. So I do both, but most people say there's no need, they're too strong. One lady with the stomach lining repaired and her abscess resolved, and nervous system issues, she says they're so strong. So I just helped a lady in Australia, an Australian Keshe Foundation in Queensland, how to make them, and she put them on first time, and all her cats all came around her and were all calm, and she had them on her feet. So that was pretty cool to hear. So.
Right, because I just have mine done now. I did mine cold caustic baggy process. Yeah. And I wanted to put these underneath the insoles in my shoes.
Yeah.
So live in my shoes, but I wasn't sure if I needed to coat them any further than that.
You can. I think just experiment with it. You'll find what appeals to you. But they're quite strong, so they're going to shift a lot of your chakras and your energy fields around if you've got some blockages, right? So you're going to feel dopey sometimes and drink water, and
that's the plan.
Sorry, John, did you have a picture of that? We didn't highlight it or spotlight it. Let me spotlight it and see your picture there.
I gotta fix my camera every time this stupid thing keeps.
Okay, yeah, we can see it there.
Yeah. So
okay. Now,
it looks similar.
Yeah, Leith, we had, thanks, John. We have a lady on live stream that says, the spirals are hard for me to make freehand. Can you share your secret to actual production?
Yeah, it's you just got to go with your intuition. I'm sorry, I just have to keep going back to that. It just sort of comes naturally.
So you just make them freehand. You don't have any special tools or anything.
I just stretch the wire in, fold it half. I sit there and make sure I've got some good music in the background. You've got to be happy when you do it. If you're feeling not in the right state, don't make them, because you make
It
mistakes.
helps to have strong fingers and thumbs as well, and depending on the gauge of wire as well, that makes a big difference.
Oh, big time. Yeah,
Like
20 gauge is what I use. Yeah.
20 gauge. Okay, well,
Yeah,
she might be working with 14 or 16 or something, which would be significantly tougher. So I would
don't go to the
suggest.
gym anymore, Rick. So yeah.
So 20 gauge would be recommended to her, and maybe if that's too tough, she should go to 22 gauge or something like that, even thinner perhaps.
Well,
Yeah.
the wire that's in Cat 5 cable, computer network cable, it's amazing to work with. It's beautiful quality wire. It works so nice.
And what gauge is that?
Fine, easy to work with.
What gauge is that now?
I think it's 28.
28 gauge. Yeah, she was using 14 gauge, so you can understand they would be hard to make. Now, in that case, what you can do though with 14 gauge is use the torch, heat it up red hot, and let it cool, and that will anneal it and make it much easier to bend and so on with that process.
Yeah, that will help. So quick thing, John, is make sure you put the clockwise direction facing your skin. Okay, that's key. So the clockwise direction facing your skin.
Okay, because mine one side is clockwise and the other side is counterclockwise.
That's right. So the clockwise side, what you're looking at is clockwise.
I should say end. Because let me put the camera back on here, which means I'm going to have to bring that back up and fix it. How come it's not working? My camera is dying. I'm going to have to get a new one. Come on, there we go. Okay, so from my vantage point, this one is clockwise.
Yep.
It's reversed in the picture, so and
that's correct.
Opposite side. So if they're laying flat in the base of my shoes, would this one be at the front of my shoe?
So if the side that's facing you should be clockwise, because the side facing me is counterclockwise. So the side that's facing you should be touching your skin through a plastic or mummified.
I still don't understand, because if I turn it around, then this one's clockwise and this one's counterclockwise. You see, because there's one of each.
Yeah. So mine are both the same direction each way I look at them. So.
Okay.
Let's look at Leith's again there. Let's spotlight it and have a look at yours.
Yeah.
Are they both wound the same way? Yes, they are.
So when I turn it around.
I see. Okay.
How did yours get to be the other way, John? Let's have a look at yours again. It seems.
Well, it's really hard to. It's very difficult to see the inside, but it looks like they're the same as Leafs. It just.
Yeah, they both go the same way.
I see. Okay, my confusion. I got it.
It's when they if both coils don't have that crossover loop in the middle and just go straight directly over, then they're counterwound differently. Tricky, eh? Boy.
Okay, so clockwise is up, as far as shoes are concerned.
Clockwise is up. From the skin point of view, I guess.
Yeah, so clockwise is for me, so left hand going round and out. Yep.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
So try that, but experiment with them. I'm open to feedback because, it's pretty simple and seems to be working. So.
Yeah, I won't be able to play with the GANS. I've only got a little bit of CO2 GANS left. I'm having a heck of a time getting the GANS to work in this new place. I think it's the only change that I made was the temperature, because it's constantly cold in here. So.
Yep, that can make a big difference, I think. Yeah,
I'm thinking that's my big problem is coming, because I even hit it with electricity and a diode and everything, and it just didn't do anything. All I did, my zinc plate just grew into this big black tree, and I got nothing out of it. So still working on that. I haven't figured out all the variables yet.
All right, I
So
think
I'll
that's
try it with nothing. I'll just put them in a baggie and put them under the insoles of my shoes, and maybe my legs won't hurt when I go for a walk anymore.
Yeah, I found put them in some sock, put them in your feet, the base of your feet, up and down, just between your big toe and second big toe underneath, and then the one goes down into the center of your arch. I found that the best spot, and then put socks over top, and then just lie down, listen to music and relax for 15 to 30 minutes every day, and start off slowly, and then work your way up to either half an hour to 45 minutes to an hour, or then just do 2 or 3 times throughout the day. But make sure you don't want to get up and go do something straight away afterwards, because things can shift and happen.
Well, I'm a bit of a psycho. I just, my idea was to put them in my shoes and wear my shoes.
Okay.
We'll see what happens. I
Yeah.
don't know. We've got to try stuff. We'll never know where the limits are if we don't.
Exactly. You might start getting your feet will go numb and you won't know they're there.
If he wins the Olympics running competition, we'll know why.
Well, hey, if I can keep up with my dog, I will be happy camper.
Maybe you need shoes for your dog too.
He's got plenty of energy now.
To slow him down, I mean. Copper's heavy, you can slow him down. No, I wonder what we could do for dogs in terms of the...
there was a lady...
What about a collar?
Yeah, exactly. There was a lady, I can't remember where she was, but she made a CO2 package and put it in the collar of her dog. Mm-hmm. And this old dog, it's like 12 or 14 years, I can't remember the exact age, but an old dog who was, pretty much a lump laid around all day. Within a day or two, he's out playing and jumping around and being a puppy again.
Huh. That reminds me of a joke. About this guy's cat who suddenly just seemed to die in the middle of the room and he keeled over. And his friend says, well, I know how to bring your cat back to life. Give me some gasoline, he says. And the fellow says, okay, I'll do whatever I have to bring my cat back to life. And he goes and gets a bit of gasoline, and the fellow puts the gasoline by the tail end of the cat, let's say, and it's back end. And sure enough, this cat just jumps up and starts running around the room, and it's up the walls and jumping around on the curtains and furniture and buzzing around the room, and all of a sudden it just jumps up and just falls flat again, and it seems to be dead in the middle of the room. And the fellow says, well, geez, what happened? What can I do? What's going on? And the other fellow says, well, I guess she ran out of gas. Anyway, it's a... Sorry, too many laughs there, but...
Oh my God. So if at first you don't succeed, always reach for gasoline.
Well, it's worked in the past, but I think we're past that now. It's more into the plasmatic zone. So, I'm not sure how that works exactly with cats, but I think they are probably quite susceptible to plasmatic changes. They seem to be some of the more sensitive animals that humans keep, according to literature and personal experience.
Well, Libby's cat loved sleeping underneath her creations and got mad at her when she moved them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah, they're definitely good indicators that this is a good thing or it's not a good thing. Well,
Right.
it's not a good thing, I don't know for sure, but they don't hang out near it. But when they like something, they're hanging right out under it if they can get to it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
amazing.
You found that one in your outdoor sculpture too, didn't you? Or was it your indoor one you had?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like my hands are gathering. Mind you, it's the best place in that. It's the sunny side of the house, etc. But they all seem to gather and play right around where that newest devices, and that's where I hang most of my devices. And I tell you, there's more birds, but who knows whether it's birds, it's spring, the rain. I don't know anymore. But I've been using my clothesline for other experiments I'm working on. Just have to start taking more pictures. I'm having too much fun. I'm so inspired now. Just anyway, yeah. And
That's
thank you.
great.
So I'm trying here to make coils as we speak. I
Yeah.
got 16 gauge wire. 16 gauge is easy on my hands, or maybe 18. So I'll just keep playing. Thank you so much, Lee. It's good to be inspired.
You're welcome. Anytime.
Right on.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Leaf, how do you use the coils in other parts of the body? Do you use two of them together on either side of a limb, etc.?
Is that you, Tony?
Yeah, it is, mate.
G'day, mate. Good to hear.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did some research on the spirals. Reiki. So I'm not a Reiki expert. I've had one Reiki treatment out there in Suk, and it was an amazing feeling. But there's a Reiki symbol called the Choki Rei symbol. It's kind of like a spiral with a line going up it. And I kind of researched that, and it says we have like a power activation switch on our hands and our feet. And so that's what's inspired me to put one on each hand. You got to make sure you do it balanced, have one on each hand.
Yeah.
And then the same with your feet. And you can do both at the same time. That's really strong. You're going to create entrances on your left and feeding yourself with the right, and then same on your feet. And then you find your whole body's going to start shifting, and then it's going to exit through your head, which is going to totally align all your chakras and do a lot of stuff. So if you want the quick results, do feet and hands at the same time, but it's going to be a lot of shifting. Expect the next 3 or 4 days to a lot of stuff to go on. So don't expect to work or have any normality. It's going to do a lot of shifting. So that's why I say 15, 30 minutes every day, do it gently to start and then see how you go. But yeah, when I had November, I had the bad flu was going around, and I used to get bronchitis all the time. And straight away I felt the symptoms, and I went straight to my chest, and I just put a spiral straight on my chest, and I taped it with tape, and then all the symptoms went. I just looked silly with this spiral to my chest and my t-shirt, but I just kept it there, and I didn't need any medicine or anything. So it worked great. Yeah, just taped it to my chest, and all the symptoms went. After about 4 days, I never went through the usual, bedridden, coughing and sneezing and all that fun stuff. I didn't have any of that at all. After about 4 or 5 days, I was, all the symptoms didn't even go to its next level. It was quite amazing.
The doctor of the future. Copper wire, duct tape, and then that's it. That's the end. That's all you need. Copper wire and duct tape, and you're done. Next,
So
you can do hundreds of patients a day that way.
The way doctors react to this stuff's really interesting. I was having an experience with my mother with a pain pad, and I'd been taking her into the doctor, and she came out and said the doctor had said a really strange thing to her. And I asked her what that was, and he'd said to her, look, I don't know what you're doing, and I don't need to know what you're doing, but keep doing it. That was pretty amazing coming from a doctor.
Yeah, that's awesome. I get. Yeah.
Do you know what kind of symptoms? Was that relief of pain, or was that some other relief or a change in symptoms?
Well, yeah, I wrote this up and posted a while back. My mum had a wound just above her ankle. It was kind of, and we were treating that, and basically it got infected quite badly and ran up her leg, and she got hospitalized for a week. And she came out and it got infected again within a day or two of her coming back out of hospital. And that's when I'm not, health wasn't, I got into this for a power unit, and but this kind of like, well, can I do something? And she's quite an elderly lady. She's having her 80th birthday in a few days, and so I sort of read up about pads and thought, well, I'll give this a try, and used the copper and CO2. And it worked like a charm. I mean, I went back a couple of days later to see how she was going, and not only was her leg, you know, a lot better. It was kind of a very bad ulcer. It was quite deep, you know, but it would heal quite a lot. But all these other things, she was her back was straight. Her neck, she was moving her neck around and seeing things she hadn't done for a long time. You know, it was just quite amazing. And she's had a couple of strokes. She was talking about, and she's still talking about, thinking clearer. You know, that she could concentrate and be clearer in her head for a lot longer during the day than she normally could. And I've sort of, you know, and this happened, I don't know, maybe 6 weeks ago, and I'm still seeing these effects. You know, I keep taking her the pads about once a week. I'll change the pad, give her a new pad, and she's really happy with it. She's getting a lot of benefits in all kinds of ways, not just the wound that we was initially treating.
Interesting.
Yeah, that solved me. You know, now I've just built health cups. You know, based on Douglas's method, and I've got a thyroid problem, so I looked up. You know, I remember Keshe talking about putting some sulfur into the mix if you've got a thyroid problem, and so I looked up, you know, what's the best source of natural sulfur, and I found that egg yolks have sulfur, and I also told onions is also a good source. So I sort of ashed that down, and added that with some mango and banana. Ashed that down and added that to my GANS for the cup. And I, you know, I'm not sure, but I swear when I'm taking air from the cup that I get an aftertaste of egg. It's really strange. Yeah.
Interesting way to figure out how to get the extra sulfur, you know, figure out the foods that have it, GANS them up, there you go.
Yeah, well, hey, you know, I've got nothing to lose, so give it a go.
Yeah. And it's complete, you know, pure logic, basically, based on the knowledge of the way plasma works.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I made the same wire and the same method with the rings at the end, and made a necklace out of it and put it in my little crystal bags and put it around me. In this past 2 days, the whole energy levels have gone up, the vibes have gone up, and I can't describe it. So it's even now I'm wearing copper full time.
Oh, how does the loop join again?
It's the same structure as the. I kind of got it tied in with the bag there, but it's the same wire, same method. Just twist it clockwise and then loop the ends with the same holes as you do for that spiral. But I just didn't turn it into a spiral. I made it as a necklace, and then just joined it with the crystal bag that has about, I don't know, all the different crystals for all the chakras, and they're all little ones in the bag there. And as soon as I put it on my chest, it all warms up and heart chakra opens, and then everything, the whole body just balances out. And by having the copper wire, it must loop the fields back around because it's all dark already. Within 24 hours, the wire's gone dark, as you can see.
Yeah.
Just wearing it. So it's my latest invention. So, actually, it's the other one. If you don't mind me sharing, Rick, is to go down to the beach and find driftwood, and get GANS with ashes and crystal powder, and then coat it, and then put coconut oil or olive oil, and then coat it as well, and put a crystal in the top, and then a different crystal in the base. And after I let it dry for a couple of days, as soon as I picked it up, I got like a big stomach root chakra burst, and it said no fear. And now, since all these sort of workshops, it means that we've got to overcome our fears, right, of this human race, not to be controlled by money and control of governments and so forth. So until we overcome the no fear, that's the message I got from it. So I thought I'd share that with you.
That's the message wrote to someone today, actually. There we go. Let me see. It was.
Yeah, it's sort of like until we see that we're not controlled on what we need for food, water, and shelter and basic things to live, then we don't have any fear of not being without, if that makes sense.
Well, the line I had today was fear of dark and fear of light must end.
Interesting.
Tony, did you want to show your video there? I see your video's on. Maybe I can turn it off if you didn't mean it to be.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to John.
Let me spotlight your video. Thank you.
There we go. I'll see if I can get some focus there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a variation of one of John's pens that I, much appreciative for his efforts in putting together a really good brochure and videos about it. And no doubt I'm going to make many more of different types, but I particularly liked his design. Thanks, John.
Yeah, no problem. I don't think you were here at the beginning of the show. Vivek had the next generation of that. Or, well, I shouldn't say next gen, but another design where he put a third coil around it. And it appears from the reports that he's got using it to draw out that energy.
Oh, wow.
Rather than putting the energy in.
Yeah.
Well, he said first it went in and then it came out, kind of. Yes. We were examining that as a process rather than just sort of an instant just in or just out. That it went in and then back out like a cycle or a pulse or something.
Yeah, so if people with like goiters or little growths or tumors, things on their tendons, whatever, with a 3-coil system, which would be what we expect, or what we is gravitationally biased. So it's going to want to draw out. It's going to want to draw the energy into the pen itself rather than simply emit the energy. So we can use that to remove skin conditions, tumors, whatever.
Was it coiled in the same direction as the other coils?
I believe Vivek. Yeah, Vivek just said yes. They're all the same direction.
Yeah.
If you want, I can actually bring up the picture that I showed earlier, so that the others who came in a bit later can also see it.
Yeah,
Sure.
I'd love to see it.
Okay,
Thanks.
I'll just share my screen.
Yeah.
Share screen. There we go. This is the core of the pen itself. The coil, the stylus basically coils back onto itself and ends up in 2 prongs rather than just 1 prong.
Right.
So it loops over here and then it coils over here. There are 18 turns and it ends in 2 prongs. Then you add the other 2 coils on top of that, and this is what you end up with. It's a very substantial health pen.
Wow.
And what my mom said was that first she felt the energy going in, then she felt the energy swirling around under her foot, and then she felt the energy moving back up her leg and being sucked out of her knee.
Great.
And she felt that twice. I did it yesterday and the day before, and both times she felt the energy being sucked out.
Well, the question is, if it's being sucked out, where's it going?
That's a good question. We're still trying to figure that out.
Well, thanks, Vivek, for showing me that. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So I can concur. I've been making my pens very similar to that for the past 5 or 6 months. So I twist my wire back, twist it clockwise so I have a loop back to itself. Then I put a 24 gauge wire around clockwise direction, and then I do the 20 gauge anti-clockwise direction so it'll fit nicely into one of these little pens. And so I have 3 different layers. And so yeah, one of the coils is to allow gravitational to suck out and then to loop back in. And my brother from Australia said it was like putting a Mozzie zapper on his elbow. So yeah, I've been sending hundreds of these out. Very similar.
It's like doing what with his elbow?
Like putting a Mozzie zapper on your elbow. A mosquito zapper.
Oh, mosquito zapper. Mozzie. Of course, yeah, I should recognize that.
Yeah,
word.
that's an Aussie thing. Yeah.
Well, Mozzie is not Aussie because the Mozzies are. I'm quite familiar with them from my upbringing in New Brunswick, Canada, where you have to lather on the bug spray and bug repellent in order to survive a summer as a kid and so on. Probably warped my mind more than anything else, absorbing all those toxins. But yeah, mozzies are mosquitoes, for those that are wondering what the heck we're talking about. And you're talking about a mozzie swatter or a mosquito killer.
A zapper. Yeah, like those mozzie zapper machines or lights you have at the barbecue, and everyone wants to test their abilities for pain.
Yeah, put your tongue on this.
Those are the ones that look like miniature tennis rackets, right?
Yes, right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I've got 2 or 3 of them. No, I've got 2 of them because I was doing high voltage experiments with them, actually. They're kind of cool. It's a good little power supply for certain experiments.
Yeah. So I've added to those pens, and I put like 5 crystals at the top in the top part you screw on, and then 4 or 5 crystals at the bottom as well, extending it to do that, so you cover all the chakras as well.
You have crystals at each end of the coils. I see.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
So sort of share that with you. Yep.
Yeah, I wonder if what if you hooked up the bug zapper to one of those? Not that you want to zap anybody with it, but it should do something. Maybe not. Maybe it's not good to put high voltage energy into such structures. But the jury's a bit out on that one.
I think once we get our vibrations level up, we'll be able to communicate with them and tell them to chill out and relax.
Okay, we're getting a request for a picture. We need to come up with a picture. Somebody come up with a picture for me. I'll be forced to do a whiteboard.
Picture of what?
Anything will do. It's just that we don't have a picture. There's a picture of John. Okay, John. I'll put you up. It's dark. We see a dark face of John.
I can see some eyes and a nose.
Yeah. Close enough. It's a picture. It'll do. Looks like it could be like, John the Baptist.
Looks like an old painting.
Something. Yeah, John the Baptist or the Christ, A picture of the Christ drawn by John the Baptist or something like that. Anyway. Oh, we can't hear you, John. Just hear it. We can't hear you, John. Audio something or another.
Mute button. There we go.
Yes, that'll do it.
I just encapsulated my my devices. I'm going to stick them in my shoes right now.
Cool. Good stuff. I had a question for you, Rick. Has there anybody in US or Canada done the Earth direct connection to your MagRav? Because that would sort of be a breach of rules, right?
Wait a minute. Say that again.
Has anybody directly just connected their Earth connection to their MagRav? You know what Alex was talking about a few workshops back, what he did, connecting your Earth to your input.
Yeah, right.
Has there been any feedback or anybody successfully done that in the US or
I would say that feedback is probably the key word involved with that circuit. And the kind of feedback that you probably don't want to get either through your electrical circuit or the feedback from your electrical company or electrician about using that ground circuit, which you're not supposed to be playing around with, basically, when it comes right down to it. Especially not hooking it up with the positive and that kind of stuff. So, I don't know. Maybe it works in some countries, like maybe it works fine in Africa. And also, it is true, you can pull up residual voltages from the, we're getting some breathing in the microphone there from somebody. You can get residual voltages and actually make some small amounts of power from the between the neutral wire and the ground wire at certain times, especially when there's a heavy use of certain equipment and that kind of thing. And there'll be a variation between those two lines.
I think that's what it is. It's just a potential difference between the ground and earth ground and the neutral wire.
Yeah, and then you can get enough to maybe.
That could be different from house to house.
Yep.
There's an old telecommunications trick in earthing that if you're not getting a good earth, you just go and piss on it or empty a bottle of water on the earth spike. And that could make a difference. But whether you can actually get usable current flow over it's another thing. You might see a voltage there, but whether it's you put a load on it and it'll deliver is another thing.
I think you could probably light up an LED or two over such a thing quite easily, and that would be impressive enough to show the current flow. There is a flow, but it's minimal. And it's a similar trick can be used with the you can get free power from the phone line that comes into your home, because it's got a 5 volt or something built-in power in the line, and there's ways you can tie into that actually, maybe charge a tiny battery or something to show that you're actually getting power and free energy from the phone company.
Yeah, over here it's a bit higher than that. It's either 12 or 24 depending on the type of cards they use at the exchange. And the ring voltage can be up at around 50 volts. So just tap off that ring voltage somehow. That's pretty usable.
Yep. Yeah, there are ways, and there's also the ambient energy thing of having an antenna stuck up in the air 100 feet or something. You can actually pull voltages off of it. The atmosphere itself has, what is it, 50 volts per meter, I think it is, potential difference for every meter going up. But it's hard to tie into, because if you try to hook a wire between it, then it automatically grounds the whole circuit kind of without getting the potential out of it. People have gotten potential enough to charge a small battery or maybe light an LED or something like that. But that's about all you can get from that kind of situation.
Have you played with that, Rick? Have you tried that out yourself?
Just in a minor way, by stringing up a wire and seeing what kind of voltages might come off and that sort of thing. But you have to have a sort of a special capacitor circuit and a ground circuit all hooked up to try to take advantage of that. Get that resonance going. So again, we need a picture again. We get a picture of John and his dog, but it's not good enough for the people on Zoom and the people in live stream. Who has something they'd like to show? Just a picture will do. Or video. Okay. Or let's see. Pet pictures. No, let me see, what can we put on here? Let's have some pictures. Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt there. We can keep going with that flow if you like, or we can change to another topic depending what people are interested in. Let me have a look at the live stream. Elizabeth says, anyone tried putting the copper tape onto small batteries? Is that like Mike Najaf has been doing lately? Is that what she means? Oh yes, Mike Najaf has several videos about it. Anybody experimenting in that realm?
I haven't been following Mike. I have no idea what he's even trying to do with it.
I believe it's sort of like taking copper tape and making it into a 1/4-inch strip and then winding it around a battery, I guess, with a gap in between each winding. So you have this spiral strip of tape stuck on leaf. I'm assuming that's charging the battery. I'm not really sure. I didn't look into it. I just saw a picture.
Yeah, I could see that for a replacement for wire. We used to do stained glass, and you can get a self-adhesive copper tape that'll handle high temperatures really well.
Yes, that's true.
You could wind that around a structure and then nano coat it. It's an alternative for wire.
In a sense, the wire forms a magnetic structure usually as a coil, but a flat strip of tape would be more of a capacitance than an inductance. Let's say, I believe more of a maybe an electrical effect or plasmatic effect. Probably closer to the plasmatic effect than the wire. Kind of makes sense in a way.
I was thinking of applications, stuff like Libby's doing with her specific shapes using the platonic solids. It would be a simple matter to get a plastic platonic solid, and then you could apply the tape to either the vectors or across the apexes and get a copper structure that way.
Yeah, some of the copper tapes like about 2 inches wide or so too, so it'd be easy to make cover some of the larger areas with it.
That would be really, really good. I'm just winging. It's a wing and a prayer when I make these things. It's definitely a wing and a prayer.
Actually, the copper tape would be really, really good to try and make tubes out of. We're talking about, working with tubes for a while.
Yeah,
play with.
The problem being that if you try to nano coat it and it's got all the sticky goo on it, it's a bit of an issue.
Yeah.
But as far as
the stuff for stained glass, because it's intended to, you stick it right to the glass, and then you put your pieces of glass together and solder it. So there's on one side it's got the adhesive, which is not affected by heat. On the other side, it's just pure copper. It's clean and perfect, ready for soldering.
Yeah, copper foil. Yeah.
Yeah, but what about the nano coating? Can you nano coat the inside part that's got the sticky goo on it?
Probably not, but the nano coating should migrate underneath that glue over time. Whether it comes off the glue at that point, I can't say. We don't see problems with the cars when the nano coating gets under the paint. It doesn't lift your paint, so I would think the glue would stay on there.
Yeah, hard to say. It's that old conundrum of do you want the additional materials in your experiment in a way with the glue? Will it contaminate anything? Will it change things is the question. I suppose it all depends on your setup.
Yeah. So I must say, these coils in my shoes, what an interesting feeling.
Really? Tell us about it.
My toes are tingling like you wouldn't believe.
Really?
Yeah, it feels like it's the same kind of tingle as when your feet wake up after they've been asleep for a week.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
So you put them right in your shoes and you're wearing your shoes? Is that the way you're doing it?
Like
sitting there with
deerskin slippers that I wear in the house all the time, and I just flipped them underneath the part, and I can feel them under my big toe and the center ball of my foot, so it's sitting at kind of an angle.
Oh, okay.
And, within, I would say, 20 seconds, my feet started to tingle.
That's awesome, John. Just be careful if you're putting it around deer skin or other animals or things like that. You're going to potentially absorb the emotions of those things. I noticed that if I had like a cup of milk next to things, I'd absorb the emotions of the animal. I felt if it had trauma. Just be wary.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, that's a good way to connect with my dog, I suppose. Come here, Ruff. Let me put my feet on you.
You might find yourself barking at the moon. Yeah.
Oh, again? I thought I got rid of that.
That's just full moons. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to document all this, John, and then keep us posted week to week.
Yeah, I'm going to try a couple of different things. Put them in my walking shoes when I head downtown. I'll be going downtown tomorrow because usually I'm about 4 blocks from the bridge, and about halfway across the bridge, my calves are so sore. I think I got a circulation problems and I'm not getting blood to my legs, but that's kind of what it feels like. And then if I stop for 10 minutes, let rough sniff around for a few minutes, it goes away and then I'm okay. But if I can cure that, I'll be a happy boy.
Yeah. So all my foot injuries, my broken foot from playing sports, and all my calcified spots in my feet, I could never have sensation or touching, have all gone away, and now they're wired. Like they pick up on vibrations. My feet are so sensitive and in tune with everything now, even all parts of my body. But it started with my feet. So what you're explaining is exactly the first steps.
And so to speak, is that is it okay? Is it comfortable, or is it sort of like that feeling of the numbness, the pins and needles that you get, sort of uncomfortable feeling of an arm awakening from falling asleep?
Oh, no. This is really pleasant. I do not want it to stop.
Okay. So you're going to crank out coils all night and coat your entire body with them, eh? The bodysuit, the coil bodysuit. Coil suit.
Well,
Good
maybe
work.
not, but I'm
Good work.
definitely going to bring this into Peru because there's some folks down there who some of the older folks, they're having trouble walking and getting around, and they have virtually no health care in Tarapoto, at least nothing significant. So once I do get a couple of days in this and get to know exactly what to expect, then I'm bringing this into Peru, and we'll have several hundred stories in a couple of weeks.
That's why I wanted to get those going here, Rick, and get them to medical professionals and get them to validate it, because I think they're the ticket, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the Philippines would be the place if you want direct medical access, because they've Renan and crew already have a hospital that they're working with, so they'll be able to bring in new stuff really easily.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
We hope to do that in Canada as well. We've got some people sort of lined up that might be able to do clinical trials and be willing to get involved with that and so on. So that could get interesting. But it's definitely easier in a country like the Philippines, where they seem to have more liberal access to alternate, ideas and that sort of thing, perhaps.
Yeah, I sent a big email to the dean of Camosun College on the health department about a week ago. I never got a response. So yeah, it sort of must have raised a few eyebrows. So.
Well, it's similar to when they first introduced acupuncture in BC, British Columbia. It's, Dr. Gunn, as I understand it, Dr. Gunn in Vancouver, who was a Eastern doctor and MD at the same time, introduced acupuncture, but he did it by sort of a tricky way. He wrote papers about it and introduced the doctors about it, but he didn't use the term acupuncture. He called it trigger point therapy, and with needles and so on, and explained in technical language to the doctors why it worked and so on and so forth. And they bid on it, and then several years later they turned it back into the word acupuncture, and now it's all socially acceptable to use that word. But they refused to use the word acupuncture initially and had to call it trigger point therapy for a few years to sort of get people, get doctors mostly used to, probably the doctors' college, used to the concept, used to the idea that, because everybody knew it worked, it's just they needed a rational explanation to the Western point of view of why it worked. And it was rationalized through the concept of trigger points that were stimulated by these needles, trigger point therapy. Okay, what do we got a picture of here? Looks like some kind of GANS-orama.
Yeah, I just thought I'd share that. So this is the GANS I put all together in a container. You can kind of see, yeah, there's the CO2, the CuO, there's CH3, there was titanium dioxide, and I just put it all in this container. This is sort of my GANS area. And then I started to send thoughts to it, to help the planet.
Well, it kind of looks like the planet.
It sure does look like the planet. I can see all the continents pretty much there, depending on how you look at it. Certainly the colors.
So I would feel that GANS has a conscience. If it could form that shape with those multiple 3 layers, because you can see the layers in it. See how they're layered on top of one another, like in 3D?
Mm-hmm.
And then I almost see like a head and a brain with eyes too.
I see mountains and seas, and I see a desert.
Yeah.
Shallow coastal water areas. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I think it's Australia.
I think it's, we paddled across the ocean, we went through the mountains, and then we came to Canada.
Australia, New Zealand, here it is.
So I share that with you. So this is the picture that Tom took when he went to the pyramids down in Mexico there, and see the spiral made out of crystals?
Let's have a good look at that. Interesting.
Yeah. So this is in the center of the array. They build all these crystal structures with these stones, and they've made it around the pyramids there. And it's supposed to be it's a new site that was just discovered in 2011, just about 20 minutes out of San Miguel in central Mexico.
Yeah, and I bet you that they already hand-picked the really good ones out too, that showed the spiral better even, I wonder if they would have had all the prime rocks. Is that the spiral looks kind of cut short, like it, that one's longer. Yes, it is. This one looks like it just went kaplunk.
There's another one here too. I've got some other pictures I can get from Tom, but
were the other ones more complete, do you think? Like this looks like it should have went around another loop or two before it went to the middle, and maybe someone took all the rocks out that should have been in there.
I know. There's like Tom went over and grabbed a few of the rocks. I think people are doing that. So you might be right there. So there's another one over here, and then I'll try and find some other pictures. No, takes too long.
Where was this? Where was this again exactly?
It's called Canada La Virgin. Would you believe? It's about 20 minutes out of San Miguel in central Mexico.
Okay.
And you can do a search on it, Google it, and there's some interesting videos that describe about it. The big thing was trying to keep harmony and balance within nature, with the environment, and they created all these structures and arrays in the pyramids, and they connect with winter solstice. There's the harmony of winds and vibrations, but there's some dark stuff there too, because they're all about the city of the dead and connecting with the dead and the sacrifices and stuff like that. So but yeah, it just seemed Tom moved straight away there, and then I looked it all up, and I saw the synchronicity straight away. So
wow.
Yeah, I just thought I'd share that with you.
Any other goodies there hiding for the last few minutes once again? Get everybody stimulated. Okay, that's great. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rick. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, I just finished a Cascade unit yesterday to sort of see if it speeds things up with my MagGrab nanocoating. It was just something I always wanted to complete, to sort of sign off on that. And yeah.
What's a Cascade unit? What do you mean by that? Do you want to show us a picture or video?
A single coil with capacitors to put it on the end of the line to go with the power unit. basically, and it should, in theory, speed up the nano-coating process. Yeah.
I see what you mean. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I just thought I'd throw that in.
Okie dokie. Trying to think what other news is happening in the world at large here.
I've got
Sorry?
one more thing if you want, Rick.
Okay, sure.
So about 6 months ago, when I first started doing my caustic in the bottles, I put them in one of those cheap plastic drink bottles, and it cracked and leaked. The nano coating and the material inside that old reused caustic leaked, and it got into the crack of the floorboard. But it was only like about a 3 centimeter crack, and it got in between the two floorboards. And I thought nothing of it. It was just a small little bubble. And then I thought, oh, I'm going to have to replace the floorboard. I'll let it go. And then I just started to see it grow and change. And this is how it is now. It's sort of mushroomed out like a flower.
Oh my God.
Crystal structures in the floorboard there.
This just burst out of the floorboard.
Yes.
Is that sort of synthetic floorboard stuff?
Yeah, I think it's the laminate version, but it's still wood, right? It still has wood particles in it, but looks.
Yeah.
You can see all the crystals in it. It's sort of bizarre, and all this white. It's all. It was barely 2 or 3 centimeters in size, and now look at the size of it. It's like bigger than a basketball.
Yeah, bigger than a basketball. Seriously?
Yeah, it's huge.
How much caustic would have gone in?
Oh, I don't know. Just enough to make a small bubble, but to get wedged in between. But I think there's reactions with the wood particles, right? Seems to me.
Yeah. Leaf, you realize this is how the blob started.
Yeah, keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
Needs a video cam on it by night for sure.
Yeah, the nano flower.
True.
So I think yes, definitely something goes on when you interact the cold caustic with wood.
Oh, that's going to be something I'm going to have to play with.
Yeah, it makes you want to tear up your floorboards.
Yeah, it took a while though. It's still growing. Like now, it's like almost a foot high, right? It's
really.
I wanted to replace it and get the floorboards out. I've upset my family with it, but I just got to let it go. So.
You can't kill off a life form like that.
No.
It's not right.
It's sort of jaw dropping, isn't it? As you look at it, you go, my God, what is that? So, yeah.
It's pretty organic, yeah.
It's alive, definitely.
Well, you should. Time lapse would have been so good. One of those multiple time lapse photography deals of this.
Well, this is when it first started. When it started to grow.
I see. I see now. Now I understand. It was not just a little crack. It got underneath there, and it festered.
Oh, no,
it's the festering factor.
Yeah, it started off small, and then this is part of it when it started. This is when I found it. It sort of grew.
Yeah, this is the way So these are plasmatic structures. It's almost got that hexagon shape there right off the bat.
Yeah.
You've got a volcano in your house.
I've got the natural floorboard mangrove. Yeah.
Wild. Whoa, that's.
GANS a floorboard, yay!
Not popular with the visitors.
So there must be no more than an ounce or two, or several milliliters or something of fluid, or would it be more than that?
Well, it was a small, clear. What was it like? Those little vitamin drink bottles, So I never used those.
And not the whole thing, would you?
No, not the whole thing, like some of it, because it cracked or split because the caustic must have eroded it somehow and it leaked.
Oh, yeah.
So now I put all my caustic in a Tupperware bucket. I learned the hard way, but you got to be careful what you leave the caustic in. They reuse caustic containers. So.
Yeah, I think we've all learnt that lesson about what you know what plastics you can't use. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right. So
anyway,
kids at home, play carefully and make sure you don't spill your caustic, or you might have a new play friend you have to take care of.
Yeah. Just make sure it's your friend. Yeah.
Yeah, you might have to train it before it gets loose from the floor. It starts roaming around, growing even bigger.
Gotta go take the floor for a walk.
Yeah. Yeah. Put a leash on that thing before it gets away.
so that was you as an in-between shot. So
Oh, I see. Yeah, you do have a couple. Yeah, yeah. Oh, this is quite amazing.
It hasn't gotten any bigger, like diameter-wise, just taller?
It's going taller. I haven't measured it recently. I just put paper towels over it instead of denial. That I'll let it.
If you ignore it, it'll go away. Maybe your dog will eat it or something. So it's growing up. Is it? It's not getting any denser. You don't water this thing or anything, right? You're not encouraging it, are you?
No.
Not a fetish that you're encouraging. You're just allowing it to happen. And is it moist in the room, or is it dry?
No, it's dry. It's That's where I do all my caustic and GANS creation. So right next to it, I do all my caustic sprays in separate containers.
And it's fairly warm, like room temperature plus or whatever.
Definitely, yeah. It's regularly. It's not chilled. But the sunlight comes in through the window above it, but I don't think it touches it in any way. And I just put paper towels over it right now, just to sort of give it a blanket.
Well, as long as you're not losing any pets.
Yeah, no pets, but the room's out of bounds for children.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Yeah, you wouldn't want people or pets to be eating it, probably. Yeah. You might have to put a cage around it or some sort of, structure to...
That's kind of why I want to get like a workshop set up, Rick, so I can get this stuff out of my house.
Yeah, well, you could put a series of these all around your floor and then invite people in, charge admission and that kind of thing. It's one of those oddities.
The little shop of horrors, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be excellent for Halloween especially, but the rest of the year, I don't know. That's pretty wild. That's something to think about. You can only harness that somehow.
That could be a flower pot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's up to somebody else to create some, and we can compare results.
So Elizabeth asks, have you tried to talk to it?
No, I haven't actually. I've recognized it, and I sort of must care for it by putting a blanket over it, but I haven't gone beyond that. I've admired it.
Yeah, and it's still growing. It may not be able to talk until it grows a bit more too.
Yeah, but it definitely does seem to be opening up like a flower. You can see the petals are sort of opening up and trying to keep that hexagonal shape. You're right, Rick. So I might have to take more pictures now and send it to you, Rick, and go from there. Yeah.
You could be the first person to grow their own starship.
Well, interesting idea. Because it does. I mean, that's what I was going to comment on when you showed that picture of the bulge in the floor of the wood grain of the floor, and it looked like this is like a plasmatic structure that's trying to unleash itself, and now it's grown into this flowery pot-looking thing. That's maybe that's the way we grow a spaceship. You start out with this flat plate and you just throw certain magical substances on, like caustic, and suddenly it just swells out into its plasmatic variation of that physicality, let's say.
Yeah, I think it was reused caustic containers. So there was a lot of those black nanoparticles at the bottom too. You remember how Keshe was saying those were good things? And not that I was aware of that at the time, but I think there was a lot of that stuff in there. So.
Is that like from the? Do you use copper scrubby pads or by any chance? Or?
No, so when I nano-coated my copper, I reused the caustic and put it back again into the same container and kept reusing it over and over again. And that's what this container was. It was a reused caustic.
Okay.
So it would have, every time I emptied the caustic containers out after nano-coating, I put it in the spray bottle or these separate containers. And that was one of those containers, initial ones.
Douglas was saying that his nano-coated copper scrubby pads tended to fall apart in the GANS procedure after using them a few times, so he recommended people didn't use that because the black stuff comes apart and gets into your GANS and so on. But sometimes it wouldn't matter, I suppose. Other times it might. Okay, what do we have here?
Sorry, mic was off. So I use these containers and put the copper sponges on the outside, and then just put salt water inside, and I just put a little bit of bismuth at the bottom here, and I let this one dry out. And as you can see, it's sort of the CuO color, but there was no nano material in there whatsoever. So it was just copper sponges on the outside, and I did that with bismuth and as well as gold. I got the same color at the bottom.
Same color.
Same color. Here's gold. I put my rings in there. You can see that too. So I just put copper sponges on the outside and a little clockwise nano at the top there for the circuit, and you can see it.
Distinct difference in the size and shape of the salt crystals, though.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So I'm going to do all my new kits now with that, putting the copper on the outside, because you don't have all that issues with the nano falling in or the zinc falling in and straining out the GANS and all that mess. And then you feel like you can reuse these containers easier. So yeah, just sitting on the windowsill, the sun coming in.
Okay.
I'll stop there, Rick. Yep.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
I was wondering if the sun is part of the process. I wonder, has anyone tried making GANS, in a blacked out environment as compared to in sunlight?
When I was doing it before I moved, I was doing it away from the windows, so they didn't get any sunlight at all. The last batch here at the new place, they're up in my kitchen window.
Okay.
And they failed miserably.
Right, that's interesting.
Again, I can't really say why they failed. It could have been temperature. It could be the proximity to the windows. It could be this location. We got a zinc and lead smelter here in this town, and the energy here is very dense, very dark, dense, and that may have a factor.
Yeah, right.
So one of the women of our little group here is giving a suggestion about the this shop of horrors, as she says. She says, "Don't laugh. It's alive and growing. Speak to it." And then exactly, a plasmatic structure newly created by you. You are its father. Talk to it. What do you want to say?
Maybe ask its intentions.
Please don't eat my dog.
Would you tell it something, or would you ask it something to a plasmatic structure, I wonder?
I think I'm going to ask it to help, support the life and devices I'm creating in the same room to help everybody. And then I'll let it stay alive.
Just kind of like blackmail it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not blackmail, but serve a purpose, you know.
Encourage it.
Yes.
Well, it's, you know, in a way, it's up to you to encourage or discourage this life form, let's call it, or growth, or, you know, anything that's organic materials and growing in a way is a life form. It's, I don't know how conscious this life form is, but you've given it more of a consciousness, or more of a possibility than the inert, more or less inert state that it was in before. Suddenly it's growing. So, okay, here's some nano pads.
Yeah, I think we'll have to follow on with that later with that, because that is a deeper topic. But it's got me thinking now, and now I got to go to sleep.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted to share. This was the original containers about 4 or 5 months ago, and then that's how they are now. So
Oh yeah, I see.
so just put the sponges on the outside, and then I just let it sit there. I didn't attend to it or anything, and then this is what the result was. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the salt will definitely cause some of the copper to come out and cause some greenish coloration there, I think. But
yeah,
it's interesting.
yeah. So
Well, what you have in the bottom of that is GANS. If you rehydrate it, the salt will dissolve, but the GANS will not rehydrate.
That's a good point.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if there's any extracted bismuth or any gold in it, you know, because it does look very crystallized, like all my other GANS kits that dries out. I don't get those crystal structures sitting at the bottom. That's strong.
Did you lose any gold out of your gold that you used, or did you lose any of the other crystal, the bismuth?
The bismuth I did. I noticed the shapes at the end were sort of rounded and warped a bit. They weren't the nice, you know, square edges. But the gold rings, I now just put them next to them, and when I nanocoat, I put the gold rings next to my nano devices I'm drying to try and get the elements of the gold into it for intent of healing and the final drying process.
Okay, well, Guy would say to your creation, do you want to be my friend? Let's play.
That's starting to sound very Chucky-ish.
Well, it is in a way, because, you know, everything's alive in its own way with plasma. And as, you know, a mannequin or some other, what do you call it, puppet and that kind of thing, can be brought to life even though it's of the material form. I used to be involved with puppetry, with Bunraku puppetry, which took 3 people to operate one puppet, and we had to operate in unison to make that character of the puppet come to life and make it look real and make it look like it was, the attention was on the character, not on us, and so on. So in that sense, our attention is definitely caught up with this, and we're expecting more camera shots for next week's episode of the growth of the creature. The creature
How
from
about we give
Lee's
it a name
room.
like Bill and Ben, the Flower Pot Men, but something different?
Well, it does have to have a name. I was going to say that earlier. I was going to mention that it really calls out for some kind of name. Maybe we should-
Delilah.
Well, it's born out of alchemy, so maybe call it Al.
Hell is good. I somehow like L. L is good. It's,
Tell the GANS volcano.
yes, it is like one of those volcano things you get when you're a kid.
It'd be interesting to grow a small potted plant right next to it and see what the effect is going to be like.
Hey, you got me thinking. Thank you.
Yeah,
Welcome.
don't water it.
Where do you get bismuth?
I get it here from a local guy in BC. I don't know how I found him. I found him on the internet somehow, and I got his email address and pinged him, and he sent me stuff. But the local Crystal Rockhound shop has it too, a little bit pricier. But I'm guessing, most crystal stores online will have some. Exactly where they're getting the business from, I'm not sure. You'd have to ask them. But I know healingcrystals.com, the local stores here has it where I am in BC. So you have to do some research there wherever you are to try and find a source for it.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, as just looking in Google, there's a YouTube video of how to make bismuth crystals.
Yes, I've seen that. Very interesting. I was going to get some and try to make some of those structures. It's kind of a reverse cube structure. It goes inward rather than outward. It's quite interesting.
If you read the book on Wheeler's magnetism, it talks about bismuth a lot, about the structure, and it's the strongest and safest element to use to travel the universe. It's quite an interesting read. Wheeler's.
Yeah, it's one of the more benign elements actually, and has one of the greatest diamagnetic properties as well.
Yeah, I put a bunch around my magravs, and I started to lie down and I started to spin like a merry-go-round. So I stopped putting a lot of those around now. I put different ones around because it was a bit freaky. So.
Yeah,
I just looked on AliExpress, and you can get all kinds of bismuth from China.
Yeah, no doubt. It's fairly inexpensive too, relatively speaking, but some of the really pure stuff is expensive.
Just drop the link in chat. There's this place in the US. They ship worldwide as well. Rotometals.com.
Rotometals.
They sell bismuth.
Yeah, there's bismuth. There's one other crystal I've been trying to get. It's called ring woodite, and it's a hydrogen crystal. It's sort of found 400 kilometers below the Earth's surface in normal, and it stores hydrogen elements in a crystal form in the Earth's crust. So that's on my to-do list, Rick. If you could solve that for me, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Ring woodite.
Ring woodite.
It's one word.
I just put it in chat there for you, Rick, if that helps.
Right, yeah. Let's just see it here. Look it up. Let me show that in the chat here, just so we have something to look at. I have to go here soon, but just want to show the ring woodite. This is a new one for me. I thought I've heard of most kind of structures like this, but this is quite interesting.
Of course, it comes from an Australian. Awesome.
Hydroxide ions.
Well, I'm looking at the formula, the Mg2SiO4. Looks like it's silicon doped magnesium, or magnesium doped silicon. Sorry, silicon oxide is quartz crystal.
It calls it a magnesium iron silicate.
Where's the iron?
Let's read down, and maybe we will find out where the iron is. Okay, natural ring woodite generally contains much more magnesium than iron, but can form a gapless solid solution series from the pure magnesium end member to the pure iron end member. Gapless solid solution. What the heck is a gapless solid solution? Okay, well that would be like a solid solution, because it's under such extreme pressure and temperature. It wouldn't be a gas, but it will be a type of hot solution, I'm presuming. Anyways, it's interesting. They first found it in a meteorite. Okay, well, we'll get more of a report on ringwoodite, perhaps with next week's installment of the Keshe Plasma Reactor Group. Okay, well that's interesting stuff to play with. I think magnesium is something we need to work with more for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. Magnesium is right next to the zinc family.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying that it's interesting that it's close to the zinc family. It's got hydrogen. It's like right in the ballpark where we want to play for sure.
Right on. Okay, well I'm going to have to hit the ball out of this ballpark now and fold it up for now, and thank everybody for participating once again.
Thanks, Rick.
See, Lee says he's going to go to sleep with a lot in his thoughts. Well, hopefully we can, that's the whole purpose of this group, is to kind of inspire people a little bit. You might find some little trick or tip or some factoid somewhere that might inspire someone else to go on and do great things. So that's the whole thing. We can help each other keep on going. Thank you, Elizabeth, too, on the live stream for your comments, which seem very timely there. She says, John, all my GANS hasn't been exposed to sunlight, and it stopped when the temperature drops. Needs 50 degrees for sure. Okay, well there's a hint from
Right.
her, a little
Very
tip
much.
from her. Okay, so we'll wrap it up now. I'm going to end the live stream, and thank you everybody for attending another Keshe Plasma Reactor Group for what's now Wednesday, March 16th, 2016. Or should I ask if there's any last minute comments before we wrap up, perhaps? Anyone have anything they'd really like to say?
Thank you, Rick. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Vivek, as well, for all the stuff that you do. And Leith, thank you for sharing as well, and everybody that shared. And Libby, always great to hear your voice. Anybody else?
Thank you.
John?
I love this.
Thanks,
I
John.
love this group. This is such a knowledgeable group. Thank you.
Alrighty. Okay, I'll stop the live stream.